Why did a world star with a strong and calm image suddenly become unable to hold back his tears? Why did Taehyung, a figure known for his composure and resilience, instead collapse emotionally when mentioning Jungkook's name? This is the question that is now shocking the BTS fan community around the world. The shocking incident was not just an ordinary emotional moment, but a signal that arouses deep curiosity. What exactly is happening behind the friendship of these two BTS members? That rare moment occurred when Taehyung, during a live broadcast, fell silent, his voice trembling and his eyes welling up when mentioning Jungkook's name. The scene instantly went viral, leaving millions of fans stunned. Not only because of the falling tears, but because someone like Taehyung very rarely shows weakness in public. The collapse of his emotional control left a huge mystery. There was clearly a burden he was carrying, and that burden was closely related to Jungkook. Behind the spotlight of the stage, idols often face enormous pressure that is rarely seen by the public eye. Jungkook, as the maknae or the youngest member, has long been the center of attention, not only because of his extraordinary talent, but also because his life is often disturbed by privacy issues. Reports of attempts to enter his home, stalking by obsessive fans, to violations of personal space are no longer foreign. This situation has caused trauma and discomfort that may be deeper than ever revealed. Is this what is truly weighing on Taehyung's heart until he finally could not hold back his tears? When the public heard news about an intruder once again managing to enter Jungkook's residential area, concern immediately peaked. The issue spread widely and sounded alarms among global fans. Questions arose. How is it possible that a world-class artist with tight security systems still becomes a victim of repeated threats? And more importantly, how far is the impact on Jungkook's mental state? This speculation was further reinforced by Taehyung's tears, which seemed to represent pain that could not be expressed in words. Taehyung's emotional reaction was clearly not just the tears of a friend. It was a reflection of the deep bond that had long existed between him and Jungkook. As comrades who have spent more than a decade together, Taehyung knows very well the ups and downs of Jungkook's life behind the scenes. When he mentioned his colleague's name with a trembling voice, the public saw not only pity, but also anger and disappointment toward a system that failed to provide a sense of security. HYB, the agency that manages BTS, has so far not given any clear official statement regarding speculation surrounding Jungkook's security issues. The silence of the agency only adds to uncertainty and suspicion among fans. Why was it Taehyung who reacted emotionally in public, while the company remained silent? Is there something deliberately being covered up? This situation has sparked an ever-growing wave of criticism, with demands for transparency continually voiced by armies around the world. Speculation did not stop there. Some believe that Jungkook may be experiencing greater mental pressure than what appears. Some fans even suspect other factors, such as internal conflicts or industry pressures that make the burden even heavier. Taehyung's tears were interpreted as a sign that he knew more about Jungkook's condition, but chose not to reveal details. When words can no longer represent, tears become the most honest language. For fans, this moment sparked a wave of mixed emotions between sympathy, anger, and fear. Sympathy from seeing the two figures they love so pressured, anger because of a system that failed to protect their idol, and fear from the thought that similar incidents could happen again at any time. Jungkook, who has long been known as a person full of energy, is now under the spotlight as someone fragile and vulnerable, and Taehyung's tears are real proof of how heavy the burden truly is. Furthermore, this incident sparked serious discussions about the boundary between private and public life for a celebrity. BTS, as global icons, do indeed live under constant spotlight, but that does not mean they must lose their basic right to feel safe. Jungkook repeatedly experiencing privacy violations is just one of many cases, but the impact feels greater because it was reinforced by Taehyung's tears, an expression that revealed the hidden wounds of BTS members themselves. Until now, the mystery of what truly triggered Taehyung's tears remains unanswered. Did he cry because he saw his friend destroyed by fear? Or is there something darker that has not been revealed to the public? What is clear is that this emotional moment opened the world's eyes that behind BTS's smiles and grand achievements, there are human stories that are fragile, full of tension and demand serious attention. The tears were not just a small incident in a live broadcast, but a symbol of deeper suffering. It was a warning sign that although they are international superstars, Taehyung and Jungkook are still humans with feelings, fears, and limitations. And for ARMYs, those tears are a call to care more, protect more, and be more critical of an industry that often demands too much from its idols. In the end, the biggest question still hangs. What is truly hidden behind Taehyung's tears when talking about Jungkook? Until the truth is revealed, the world can only guess, while fans continue to hope that both will gain the strength, protection, and peace they deserve. If in the previous part Taehyung's tears raised big questions, then in the next phase came a wave of much more serious discussions. The question haunting ARMYs now evolves. Were those tears merely a spontaneous emotional reaction, or rather a hidden message that something big is being concealed from the public? The short video showing Taehyung lowering his head, falling silent, then trying to continue his sentence with a trembling voice has now been watched millions of times. The comments flooding the video post are almost identical: confusion, concern, and frustration. Why must Tae be the one to cry? Why not the agency giving clarification? Wrote one fan. That sentence depicts the collective unrest of ARMYs who feel their idols are not getting adequate protection. Tension further increased because some fans linked that moment with Jungkook's recent privacy disturbance incidents that had been widely discussed. In their memory, Jungkook has repeatedly faced personal space violations, from being followed by sasaengs to reports of intruders at his residence. If that news is true, it is only natural for Taehyung to feel devastated. As one of the older members, he certainly sees Jungkook not only as a colleague, but also as a younger brother who must be protected. However, not a few also consider that Taehyung's tears may have another dimension. Some fans suspect that Jungkook's mental condition, which may be increasingly pressured by the burden of global popularity, is the main reason behind those tears. Although there is no official confirmation, signs such as fatigue, prolonged silence, or Jungkook's absence from certain public moments strengthen speculation. Here, Taehyung's tears are seen as a signal. There is something heavier being borne by the magne. Meanwhile, HYBE's silence further complicates the atmosphere. The giant company, known to be very protective of its artists, is instead considered to have failed in managing communication. ARMYs think, if indeed there is a serious problem affecting Jungkook, the company should give a clear statement instead of letting wild rumors spread. Instead of calming panic, this lack of clarity makes speculation even wilder and gives room for narratives that may not match reality. On the other hand, many entertainment analysts emphasize that this phenomenon is not merely celebrity gossip. Taehyung's tears showed the vulnerable side of an idol who has long been wrapped in a perfect image. In the Korean entertainment world full of pressure, such fragile moments are rarely seen, especially broadcast live to a global audience. That is why this incident is considered monumental, a moment when the harsh reality of the industry can no longer be hidden. Interestingly, some voices from the fan community instead see Taehyung's tears as a subtle form of protest against the system. His tears seem to symbolize disappointment, not only because Jungkook was under pressure, but also because as a group they had to face a bitter reality. Global fame is not equal to guaranteed safety and mental health. Now, the discourse developing is expanding. Do idols in the K-pop industry have proper legal protection and security systems? Jungkook's case is used as a real example of how fragile the boundary is between an artist's public and private spaces. International fans have even started to call for petitions urging HYBE and South Korean authorities to strengthen idol privacy protection. But behind all this, one thing remains a mystery. What did Taehyung really know that made him cry? Does he hold a story too bitter to be revealed? Or was he simply overwhelmed by love and empathy for a friend he already considers family? This question still hangs, leaving the public both curious and worried. One thing is certain: those tears were not trivial drama. They are a mirror of unseen burdens, a silent scream reminding the world that behind smiles and perfect choreography, BTS members are still ordinary humans. Taehyung's tears may just be the beginning of a bigger story, a story of friendship, loss of privacy, and struggles against pressures only understood by those who live behind that grand stage. And until today, ARMYs are still waiting. Will the truth be revealed? Or will those tears forever remain a mystery only understood by Taehyung and Jungkook? Not long after Taehyung's video went viral, hashtags themed Protect Jungkook and We Are With Taehyung dominated social media. Thousands of tweets appeared every minute, most containing calls for hybe to immediately provide an official explanation, as well as requests for Jungkook's privacy to be more respected. This phenomenon marked a wave of global solidarity, showing that an idol's tears were able to massively move public opinion. However, behind the outpouring of support, sharp criticism of the K-pop industry also emerged. Many observers say that the system demanding perfection and endless openness has instead given birth to a culture of extreme surveillance of idols. Jungkook, with his soaring popularity, is a real example of how thin the line is between a worshipped idol and a human trapped in limited privacy. Taehyung's tears further reinforce this narrative, that global fame always comes at a high price. Several psychological analysts even assessed that Taehyung's emotional expression was a form of release he could no longer contain. When someone cries in public, especially in Korean culture which often emphasizes self-control, it is not merely a sign of weakness, but a signal of a serious emotional crisis. In other words, those tears should not be ignored or regarded as a trivial moment. Armies, in various countries, responded with real actions. Some created online petitions demanding stricter legal protection for K-pop artists. Some fan communities raised funds to support campaigns for idol mental health awareness. In Indonesia, several major fanbase accounts even held online discussions to talk about healthy boundaries between fan support and idol privacy violations. All of this was born from one simple emotional moment, yet its impact spread widely across many layers. Even so, the shadow of mystery still surrounds. Many fans feel that there is a big story not yet revealed. Taehyung, with his tears, seemed to signal a burden he could not fully share. Is that burden related to industry pressures? Or purely about personal trauma experienced by Jungkook? This question has become a long debate that still has no definite answer. Ironically, that uncertainty only strengthens the position of Taehyung's tears as a symbol. He is not merely a friend crying for his colleague, but a representation of the voices of many idols silently bearing similar wounds. His tears are a wordless message about frustration, about brotherly love, and about the failure of a system to protect those who should be safeguarded. Now, the discussion that began with an emotional moment has developed into a serious debate about the future of the Korean entertainment industry. Can the existing system provide balance between public exposure and private protection? Can major agencies prioritize artists' mental health over commercial interests? Until today, armies are still waiting for answers. They are waiting for hybe's clarification, waiting for Jungkook's courage to speak out, and waiting for the moment when Taehyung can smile without the shadow of tears. But in the meantime, one thing is already clear. Those tears have changed the way the world sees BTS, not only as global superstars, but also as humans who are vulnerable and full of feelings. And perhaps, behind all the mystery, the biggest message from Taehyung's tears is this: that true friendship can speak louder than words, even in silence, even in tears.